Now, we put cleansing of the temple between Sunday and Monday because, as we've mentioned in Matthew and Luke, that happens right after the triumphal entry, which is important. Remember I said this is the kingly phase of the last week. When Jesus enters the temple and casts out the merchants, he's asserting his authority. So just as Solomon built the temple and had authority over it, now Jesus, as the true king, has a right to cleanse it. So that's why Matthew and Luke put it right there. John, by the way, puts it right at the front end of the ministry in John 2.
The very beginning. Yeah.
But I want to explain why. First of all, let's look at a scripture for cleansing of the temple, but then I'm going to explain why we actually have Mark put it in between the cursing of the fig tree and the teachings. So in Jeremiah 7:11, Jeremiah, wow, he had a tough duty. He's a prophet under several wicked kings of Judah, kept prophesying destruction. No one listened to him. And eventually, of course, Jerusalem was destroyed by the Babylonians. But he saw how corrupt the Temple of Solomon had become in the time of the final kings of Judah. And so he actually has a prophecy in Jeremiah 7:11. Is this house, which is called by my name, become a den of robbers in your eyes? Behold, even I have seen it, saith the Lord. Now, it's interesting, the word robbers there, I mean, for those of us who think sometimes merchants are ripping us off, there seems to be a direct correlation. But in Hebrew, it's those who break through and take control. And in Greek, leistai can mean bandits or revolutionaries. So I like to think of it as usurpers. I actually think the people whom Jesus is the most upset with in the temple cleansing incident aren't the merchants. It's those who let the merchants come in and set up shop in the courts of the temple. When King Herod rebuilt the temple, he built shops all around the western and southern side of the Temple Mount. Someone invited them to come up. And in the Mishnah and some other rabbinic Jewish sources, we hear that the high priesthood in this time period was very corrupt. So I think the people who were usurpers, who were breaking through and taking authority that wasn't theirs, were probably the priestly authorities who may have been getting a kickback from the merchants who were up there. So that's your go-to Old Testament scripture to think about the cleansing of the temple. But let's talk about why we have Mark put it after the fig tree cursing incident. Mark, the way it's set up for the first 3 or 4 days of the week is every day Jesus comes to Jerusalem, but then he goes back over the Mount of Olives to stay with his friends, Bethany. Martha, Lazarus, and Mary in Bethany. So he comes back from Bethany Monday morning, and he sees this fig tree without any figs on it. So in Micah 7:1, woe is me, for I am as when they had gathered the summer fruits, as the grape leanings of the vintage. There is no cluster to eat. My soul desired the first ripe fruit. Now, the word for first ripe fruit there is bikurah. And in the Jewish Publication Society's translation and the New Revised Standard Version, first ripe fruit actually means first ripe fig. So some people say, why was Jesus expecting a fig when it wasn't the time for figs? And the text actually says that. So Correct. Either it's a dried, withered one from the previous year, which I'm not sure I wanted a fig raisin anyway. Or we've got to ask, why can Jesus expect something? And what you need to remember is it's symbolic. This is not about that fig tree and that fig and Jesus being hungry. Fig trees, olive trees, all of this tree imagery, the trees are Israel, and they're supposed to bear fruit. And we don't know when our time is going to come and we're going to be judged. We don't know when God is going to demand an accounting of our fruits. So if you see the fig tree, and this is what I think Mark's doing with this, if you see the fig tree representing Israel at the time of Jesus, and we're not talking about all of our Jewish friends at this time period, we're talking about the priestly establishment and the leaders at that time who were running the temple and either teaching or not teaching their people appropriately, they were not bringing forth fruit. And in fact, this is why Mark puts the cleansing of the temple here. He sees the temple as not being fruitful under the current regime. So in Matthew, who had already done the cleansing of the temple, Jesus curses the fig tree, and it says in Matthew, and it dries up right away. That's not what it says in Mark. He curses the fig tree, he goes to the temple, he sees that it's not fruitful, and what we have with the overturning of the tables is not the symbolism we're used to. A temple's a holy place, we need to cleanse it. It's a symbol of destruction. This temple is going to be overturned because it has not been fruitful. And then the next day when he comes, he finds it. I like to call this a Markan sandwich when I'm teaching Mark. There's a technical term, intercalation, where you have the slice of bread, the meat, another slice of bread. And so what you're doing is you're focusing on the middle. The overturning of the tables in the Markan account of the cleansing represents Israel as not a fig tree.